The stars shimmered like diamonds scattered across black velvet. It was a peaceful night in the United Galactic Alliance, or UGA for short. Humanity had come far since its early days on Earth. Now, they lived among the stars, building cities on distant planets and traveling between them in sleek spaceships. The UGA governed these colonies with pride, believing that their advanced technology and strong sense of diplomacy made them the smartest beings in the galaxy. They thought no one would dare challenge them. But then, something strange happened. At first, it was just a blip on the scanners, a tiny dot moving slowly at the edge of human-controlled space. No one paid much attention to it. Space was big, after all, and odd things popped up now and then. But as hours passed, the blip grew larger, closer. By morning, everyone knew it wasn't an asteroid or some random piece of debris. It was a ship, a very large ship. When the news reached the leaders of the UGA, they gathered quickly in the Grand Council chamber. The room buzzed with nervous energy. Holographic screens displayed images of the mysterious vessel. It didn't look like any ship they'd ever seen before. Instead of smooth lines and shiny surfaces, this thing was jagged and uneven, like someone had glued together broken pieces of metal. Strange spikes jutted out from its sides, and glowing red lights pulsed along its surface. It looked dangerous, wild, and completely alien. "This changes everything," said Counselor Mara Lynn, her voice trembling slightly. She stood at the center of the room, staring at the hologram as if trying to make sense of it. "If this is truly an alien species, we must prepare." "Prepare for what?" asked Admiral Cale Voss, a tall man with sharp features and a calm demeanor. He leaned back in his chair, arms crossed. "We don't even know why it's here yet. For all we know, it could be lost or damaged." Counselor Lynn frowned. "Lost? Damaged? Look at it, Cale. Does it look harmless to you? That ship is bristling with weapons. And those vibrations, we've already detected disruptions in our sensor grids because of it." Cale shrugged. "Weapons don't always mean war. Maybe it's scared. Or curious. We won't know until we talk to it." Talk to it. That phrase echoed through the chamber. Diplomacy was the cornerstone of the UGA's success. Over decades, they had built alliances with other intelligent species, solving conflicts with words instead of weapons. Confidence swelled in the room. If anyone could handle an unknown visitor, it was humanity. The decision was unanimous. A diplomatic envoy would be sent to greet the ship. The best of the best were chosen for this mission. Captain Alira Vance, a seasoned diplomat known for her quick thinking, would lead the team aboard the Diplomat's Resolve, one of the most advanced ships in the fleet. Alongside her were linguists, scientists, and security personnel, all trained to handle first contact situations. As the Resolve launched into the void, excitement rippled through the crew. This was history in the making. First contact with an alien species. They imagined exchanging gifts, sharing knowledge, perhaps even forming a new alliance. No one considered the possibility that things might go wrong. When the Resolve finally approached the alien ship, the mood shifted. Up close, the vessel was even more intimidating. Its jagged edges seemed to twist unnaturally, defying logic. The glowing red lights flickered erratically, casting eerie shadows across the bridge of the Resolve. Then came the sound, or rather, the lack of it. Dead silence filled the airwaves. Not a single transmission, not a word. Captain Vance cleared her throat. "This is Captain Alira Vance of the United Galactic Alliance. We come in peace. Please respond." For a long moment, nothing happened. Just static. Then, suddenly, laughter erupted over the comms. It wasn't friendly laughter. It was cold, mocking, and distorted, like the cackle of a machine gone mad. Goosebumps rose on the skin of the crew members. Someone muttered under their breath, What kind of greeting is that? Vance forced herself to stay calm. We mean no harm, she repeated, louder this time. We wish to communicate. More laughter. Then, words began to form amidst the noise. Words in a language none of them understood. The linguists worked furiously, attempting to decode the message. Meanwhile, the alien ship loomed closer, almost taunting them with its presence. It's testing us, whispered Dr. Leon Cho, the head scientist. His hands hovered nervously over his console. It knows we're here. It's playing with us. Captain Vance ignored him. She kept broadcasting messages, hoping to establish some kind of connection. Hours passed. The alien ship remained silent, except for occasional bursts of laughter and garbled speech. Frustration mounted among the crew. Was this how first contact was supposed to feel? Like being toyed with? Then, disaster struck. One of the junior officers accidentally triggered an automated defense system aboard the alien ship. Red beams shot out, striking the Resolve with terrifying force. Alarms blared. Lights flickered. Smoke filled the corridors. Panic erupted as systems failed one by one. Through the chaos, Captain Vance gave orders, her voice steady despite the terror gripping her heart. Evacuate. Everyone to the escape pods. Most of the crew obeyed, scrambling to safety. But many didn't make it. When the dust settled, only a handful of survivors floated in the darkness, watching as their ship, once a symbol of hope, was torn apart by the alien vessel. Back at UGA headquarters, the news hit hard. Shock turned to anger. How could this happen? Humanity had extended a hand of friendship, and the aliens had responded with violence. Fear spread like wildfire. People whispered about the dangerous ship and wondered what it wanted. Why had it come here? What did it plan to do next? No one had answers. All they knew was that the universe was no longer a safe place. Somewhere out there, lurking beyond the stars, was a force unlike anything humanity had faced before, and it was laughing at them. The laughter echoed in the minds of the survivors long after they had been rescued. It was a sound that haunted their dreams, cold and mechanical, yet somehow alive. For Captain Alira Vance, who had barely escaped the destruction of the diplomat's resolve, it was worse than any nightmare. She sat in a dimly lit debriefing room at UGA headquarters, her hands trembling as she recounted the events to a panel of military leaders and politicians. Every word felt heavy, like stones being dropped into an endless void. They didn't attack us right away, she said, her voice hoarse. At first, it was just mocking, laughter, strange sounds. Then, when we triggered their defenses, everything changed. Her words painted a chilling picture. The alien ship wasn't just dangerous. It was intelligent. It seemed to understand humanity's weaknesses, exploiting them with precision. The attack had been swift and brutal, leaving no room for escape. The council listened in stunned silence, their faces pale. This wasn't supposed to happen. Diplomacy was meant to prevent such disasters, but now, fear spread across the United Galactic Alliance like wildfire. News outlets broadcast images of the jagged alien ship alongside reports of the massacre. People whispered about its size, its weapons, and the eerie laughter that had preceded the attack. Rumors. Was this a warning? A declaration of war? Or something far more sinister? In response to the growing panic, the council convened another emergency meeting. This time, however, the mood was different. Gone was the confidence that had marked their first encounter. In its place was anger and fear. Military leaders argued for immediate retaliation, while others urged caution, insisting that diplomacy still held the key to resolving the crisis. We can't let our emotions cloud our judgment, Councillor Mara Lynn said firmly, though her knuckles were white from gripping the edge of the table. If we strike without understanding their motives, we risk escalating this situation into full-scale war. Admiral Cale Voss leaned forward, his sharp eyes scanning the room. "And what do you propose we do instead?" he asked, his tone biting. "Send another envoy? Offer them gifts? They've already shown us they're not interested in talking." Lin hesitated, unsure how to respond. The truth was, no one knew what to do. Humanity prided itself on its ability to solve problems through dialogue, but this alien species defied logic. Their behavior was unpredictable, almost cruel. How could anyone negotiate with beings who laughed at death? Despite the heated debate, the Council ultimately decided to try diplomacy once more. But this time, they wouldn't send an ordinary diplomatic team. Instead, they chose Admiral Voss himself to lead the mission. Known for his tactical brilliance and unshakable resolve, Voss was seen as the perfect candidate to handle whatever the alien ship might throw at them. Accompanying him would be a group of scientists, led by Dr. Leon Cho, the same man who had survived the initial encounter aboard the Diplomat's Resolve. Cho's expertise in xenobiology and advanced technology made him invaluable, though he hardly looked the part. With his wiry frame and nervous demeanor, he seemed more suited to a lab than a battlefield. Yet, beneath his timid exterior lay a brilliant mind, capable of unraveling even the most complex mysteries. The mission was dubbed Operation Concord, a name chosen to emphasize humanity's desire for peace. The flagship of the operation was the Emissary's Hope, a state-of-the-art cruiser designed for both combat and diplomacy. Its sleek silver hull gleamed under the artificial lights of the docking bay, a stark contrast to the jagged monstrosity waiting for them in the depths of space. As the Emissary's Hope launched into the void, the crew prepared themselves for the unknown. Some were hopeful, clinging to the belief that communication was still possible. Others were skeptical, convinced that the aliens were beyond reason. Among them, Admiral Voss remained stoic, his expression unreadable. He carried the weight of responsibility on his shoulders, knowing that failure could mean the end of humanity's dominance in the galaxy. When the Emissary's Hope finally reached the alien ship, the scene was eerily familiar. The massive vessel loomed before them, its jagged edges casting strange shadows against the backdrop of stars. Red lights pulsed along its surface, and the airwaves crackled with static. Once again, there was no sign of life, only silence. Voss wasted no time. "This is Admiral Cale Voss of the United Galactic Alliance," he announced over the comms, his voice steady and authoritative. "We seek peaceful communication. Please respond." For a moment, nothing happened. Then, just as before, laughter erupted, a harsh, distorted sound that sent shivers down everyone's spines. This time, however, it was accompanied by something new, fragmented messages. Words in an unfamiliar language, interspersed with garbled phrases that hinted at mockery. "You are weak," one message translated. "Foolish creatures," came another. "Pathetic." The insult stung. But Voss refused to rise to the bait. "We are here to talk," he repeated, his tone unwavering. "Violence serves no purpose." Dr. Cho studied the transmissions closely, his fingers flying over his console. "It's learning," he murmured, half to himself. "Every interaction gives it more data. It's analyzing us, probing our weaknesses. What does that mean?" Voss asked sharply. Cho hesitated, choosing his words carefully. "It means we're dealing with something far more advanced than we anticipated. This isn't just a ship, it's a weaponized intelligence. And it views us as prey." The realization hit the bridge like a thunderclap. Prey. That single word changed everything. Humanity wasn't facing an alien species seeking conquest or resources. They were facing a predator, one that thrived on chaos and destruction. Before anyone could process this revelation, the alien ship struck again. Without warning, it unleashed a barrage of energy pulses, targeting the emissary's hope. Shields flared brightly as they absorbed the impact, but the strain was evident. Alarms blared, and the crew scrambled to stabilize the ship. "Return fire," Voss ordered, his calm demeanor cracking under the pressure. Weapon systems roared to life, sending beams of energy hurtling toward the alien vessel. But to everyone's horror, the attacks did little damage. The ship's jagged surface shimmered momentarily, as if deflecting the blows, before returning to its original form. Worse still, it retaliated with devastating force, disabling several critical systems. Aboard the emissary's Hope, panic gripped the crew as smoke filled the corridors and consoles sparked with electricity. Through the chaos, Voss barked orders, his voice cutting through the noise like a blade. "All hands, prepare for evacuation. Damage control teams, focus on keeping the engines online." But it was too late. The alien ship had already begun to close in, its massive form blotting out the stars. Escape routes were cut off, leaving the crew trapped in a deadly game of cat and mouse. One by one, systems failed, plunging the ship into darkness. In the final moments, Dr. Cho made a startling discovery. Hidden within the alien transmissions was a pattern, a sequence of symbols that repeated itself. It wasn't random noise. It was a code. Desperate to buy time, Cho transmitted the sequence back to the alien ship, hoping it might serve as some kind of deterrent. To everyone's surprise, the attack stopped. The alien ship hovered silently, its red lights flickering uncertainly. For a brief moment, there was hope. Had they found a way to communicate? Then, the laughter returned louder, colder, and more menacing than ever. The alien ship began to move again, circling the crippled emissary's Hope like a predator sizing up its prey. It wasn't done playing yet. As the crew braced for the inevitable, Admiral Voss clenched his fists, his jaw tight with determination. Whatever this thing was, it wasn't going to win. Not while he still drew breath. The alien ship's laughter echoed through the void, a cruel reminder of humanity's vulnerability. Admiral Cale Voss stood on the bridge of the emissary's Hope, his face pale but resolute. Around him, the crew worked frantically to repair the damage inflicted by the alien vessel. Sparks flew from shattered consoles, and smoke lingered in the air, but no one dared stop moving. Every second counted. Dr. Leon Cho sat hunched over his workstation, his fingers trembling as he analyzed the strange symbols embedded in the alien transmissions. His eyes darted between screens, searching for patterns, meanings, anything that might give them an edge. "It's learning," he muttered under his breath, almost to himself. "Every move we make, every signal we send, it's watching, adapting." Voss turned sharply toward him. "What do you mean, adapting?" Cho hesitated, then pointed to a series of glowing lines on his screen. "Look at this. These patterns, they're changing. It's not just repeating what we do. It's improving upon it. Like it's mocking us." He swallowed hard, his voice barely above a whisper. "This thing isn't just a machine. It's alive." The room fell silent. Alive? The thought sent shivers down everyone's spines. If the alien ship truly was a living being, then humanity wasn't facing a mere opponent. It was dealing with something far more dangerous. Something that thrived on fear and chaos. As if to confirm their worst fears, the alien ship began to shift its position. Its jagged edges glowed brighter, pulsating with an eerie red light. Then, without warning, it fired another volley of energy blasts. This time, however, the attacks weren't aimed at destroying the emissary's Hope. Instead, they targeted specific systems, communications, navigation, life support, crippling the ship piece by piece. "Why isn't it finishing us off?" one of the crew members asked, her voice shaking. "It could destroy us easily." Voss clenched his fists. "Because it doesn't want to kill us. Not yet. It's testing us. Playing with us." The realization hit the crew like a punch to the gut. They weren't fighting a war, they were part of some twisted game. And the alien ship was winning. Despite the overwhelming odds, Voss refused to give up. He ordered the remaining crew to focus on repairing the engines, hoping to create a slim chance of escape. Meanwhile, Dr. Cho continued analyzing the alien transmissions, determined to find a weakness. Hours passed in tense silence, broken only by the occasional explosion or the crackle of static over the COMS. Then, something unexpected happened. As Cho sifted through the data, he noticed something strange, a fragment of human code buried deep within the alien signals. At first, he thought it was a mistake, a glitch in the system. But the more he studied it, the clearer it became. The alien ship had somehow absorbed pieces of the diplomat's resolve during its earlier attack. Fragments of the destroyed envoy ship were now integrated into its structure, repurposed for its own use. Cho's discovery sent shockwaves through the crew. "It's using our technology against us," he said, his voice hollow. "It's not just learning, it's evolving." Voss frowned, his mind racing. If it can absorb our tech, then it's not invincible. There has to be a limit to how much it can take in. A breaking point. But how do we find it? Cho asked, his hands shaking. "We don't even know what it is. Is it a ship? A creature? Both?" Before anyone could answer, the alien ship struck again. This time, it unleashed a wave of electromagnetic interference that knocked out the remaining power systems aboard the emissary's Hope. Lights flickered and died, plunging the ship into darkness. Emergency backups kicked in, casting faint red glows across the walls, but it wasn't enough. Without power, they were sitting ducks in the chaos. Voss made a decision. "We need to get closer," he said, his voice firm despite the fear gripping the room. "If we can board it, maybe we can figure out what it wants and how to stop it." The idea was met with stunned silence. Board the alien ship? It sounded like suicide. But Voss didn't have time to argue. He barked orders, organizing a small strike team to infiltrate the vessel, armed with whatever weapons they could salvage. The group prepared for the most dangerous mission of their lives. As they launched toward the alien ship in a battered shuttle, the crew braced themselves for the unknown. The jagged monstrosity loomed larger with each passing second, its surface shifting and pulsating like a living organism. Up close, it was even more terrifying than they had imagined. Strange tendrils snaked along its hull, glowing faintly in the darkness. The air around it seemed to hum with energy, vibrating against their skin. When the shuttle docked, or rather, latched onto the alien ship's surface, the team stepped out cautiously. Their boots clicked against the metal, sending echoes into the silence. The entrance was marked by a gaping hole, jagged and uneven, as if inviting them inside, or swallowing them whole. The interior was unlike anything they had ever seen. Organic corridors stretched endlessly in all directions, pulsating with faint lights. The walls oozed a viscous liquid that smelled faintly of rust and decay. Strange noises echoed through the passageway's low growls, distant whispers, and the occasional metallic clang. It felt alive, breathing, watching. "This place, it's like a maze," one of the team members whispered, her voice trembling. "How are we supposed to find anything in here?" "We stick together," Voss replied, his tone leaving no room for argument. "And we keep moving." As they ventured deeper, the team encountered grotesque creatures seemingly grown from the ship itself. Some resembled insects, with chitinous exoskeletons and razor-sharp claws. Others looked like twisted versions of humans, their faces distorted beyond recognition. All of them attacked on sight, forcing the team to fight their way through narrow corridors and cramped spaces. Each step forward felt like a gamble. The ship seemed to react to their presence, shifting its layout to confuse and trap them. Doors slammed shut behind them, sealing off escape routes. Walls rippled and changed shape, creating new obstacles at every turn. It was as if the ship itself was alive, guiding them towards some unknown destination. Finally, after what felt like hours, they reached a massive chamber at the heart of the vessel. Inside, a pulsating core glowed with an otherworldly light, surrounded by thick tendrils of living metal. The air was thick with heat and electricity, making it hard to breathe. The core pulsed rhythmically, almost like a heartbeat. "That's it," Cho said, his voice barely audible over the roar of energy. "That's the source. Destroy it, and we might stand a chance." But before they could act, the ship reacted violently. Alarms blared, and the walls began to close in. The creatures guarding the chamber surged forward, attacking with ferocious speed. The team fought back desperately, firing their weapons and dodging attacks, but they were outnumbered and outmatched. In the chaos, Voss realized the truth. The ship wasn't just testing them, it was feeding off their fear. Every scream, every drop of blood spilled, fueled its power. It wasn't just alive. It was hungry. "We can't win this fight," Voss shouted, grabbing Cho by the arm. "We need to overload the core. Now." Cho nodded, his hands trembling as he set up a makeshift EMP device. "I'll need a few minutes," he said, his voice tight with tension. "Keep them busy." Voss didn't hesitate. He led the remaining team members in a desperate last stand, holding off the creatures long enough for Cho to finish his work. One by one, the defenders fell, until only Voss and Cho remained. Blood dripped from Voss's side, but he ignored the pain, focusing solely on keeping the creatures at bay. Finally, Cho gave the signal. "It's ready. Get out of here." Voss hesitated, looking at the scientist. "I'm not leaving you." Cho smiled weakly, tears streaming down his face. "You have to. Someone needs to tell them what we found." Before Voss could protest, Cho activated the device, triggering a blinding explosion that consumed the chamber and everything in it. The alien ship shuddered violently, its lights flickering and dimming as the core collapsed inward. With a final, deafening roar, the vessel imploded, vanishing into nothingness, back aboard the emissary's Hope. The surviving crew watched in stunned silence as the alien ship disappeared from their sensors. For a moment, there was relief. They had done the impossible. They had won. But as Admiral Voss reviewed the recordings from the mission, he couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. Buried deep within the static, he heard faint whispers, words spoken in a language he didn't understand. One phrase stood out, clear and chilling. "You think you've won, but we are many." And somewhere, far beyond the stars, another jagged silhouette drifted silently toward human territory. The destruction of the alien ship should have been a moment of triumph. Admiral Cale Voss stood on the bridge of the emissary's Hope, his face lined with exhaustion and grief. The crew cheered weakly, their voices hollow in the aftermath of such a costly victory. They had lost so much good people, brave souls who had given everything to stop the monstrous vessel. Yet, despite the relief that washed over them, there was no real celebration. Something about the mission felt unfinished. Voss stared at the empty space where the alien ship had once been. His mind replayed the final moments, the explosion, the whispers, the eerie promise that lingered in the static. "We are many." Those three words haunted him. What did they mean? Was this just one of many ships like it? Or was the creature itself capable of splitting into pieces, spreading across the galaxy? He shook his head, trying to focus. For now, humanity had won. But for how long? And at what cost? Back on Earth, news of the victory spread quickly. The United Galactic Alliance declared it a turning point, proof that humanity could stand against even the most dangerous threats. Politicians held press conferences, praising the bravery of Admiral Voss and his team. Citizens celebrated in the streets, lighting fireworks and chanting slogans of unity. It was as if the entire population wanted to forget the fear and uncertainty that had gripped them only days before, but not everyone was convinced. In the shadows of power, military leaders and scientists whispered among themselves. They knew better than to trust appearances. The alien ship had been unlike anything they'd ever encountered, a biomechanical organism that fed on conflict and adapted to every challenge. Destroying it had required sacrifice after sacrifice, and even then, success had been far from guaranteed. Admiral Voss returned to UGA headquarters to deliver his report. The council chamber was packed, filled with eager faces waiting to hear the details of humanity's improbable triumph. Voss stood at the center of the room, his uniform still stained with smoke and blood. He didn't sugarcoat the truth. He told them about the horrors they had faced, the creatures grown from the ship, the pulsating core, the chilling laughter that echoed through its corridors. And yet, he concluded, his voice firm but weary, we cannot assume this is over. That ship may be gone, but its kind or whatever controls it is still out there. We must prepare for the worst. Counselor Mara Lynn frowned, her expression troubled. Prepare how? Another attack could come at any time. Should we fortify our borders? Increase patrols? No, Voss said sharply. Defensive measures won't be enough. If another ship appears, we need to strike first. Hit it hard and fast before it has a chance to adapt. His words sent shockwaves through the room. Humanity prided itself on diplomacy, on solving problems without resorting to violence. To launch a preemptive strike went against everything the UGA stood for. But Voss wasn't interested in ideals. He had seen what the alien ship was capable of. He knew humanity couldn't afford to hesitate again. After hours of heated debate, the council reluctantly agreed. A new operation was authorized, Operation Reckoning. Its goal was simple: find and destroy any remaining ships like the one they had faced. No negotiations. No mercy. To lead the operation, the UGA assembled its largest fleet yet. Dozens of cruisers, destroyers, and fighter squadrons were mobilized, each equipped with experimental weapons designed specifically to combat unknown threats. Among these innovations was the Quantum Disruptor, a device capable of destabilizing energy fields and disabling advanced technology. Scientists worked around the clock to perfect it, hoping it would give humanity an edge in battle. As the fleet prepared for departure, Admiral Voss addressed the crews gathered aboard the flagship, the Retribution. His voice carried across the hangar bay, steady and commanding. This is not a mission of vengeance, he said, though his tone suggested otherwise. It is a mission of survival. Out there, lurking in the darkness, are forces that see us as nothing more than prey. We will show them they are wrong. The fleet launched into the void, its ships forming a massive formation that stretched across the stars. Scouts were sent ahead to search for signs of the enemy, while engineers fine-tuned the quantum disruptors. Everyone knew the stakes. If they failed, humanity might never recover. Days turned into weeks. The fleet scoured uncharted regions of space, following every lead, investigating every anomaly. At first, there was nothing, just empty voids and distant suns. Morale began to wane. Some wondered if the alien ship had truly been alone, or if it had fled beyond reach. Then, finally, they found a dot at the edge of a dying star system. Sensors picked up a faint signal. It was faint, almost imperceptible, but unmistakably familiar. Jagged edges, red lights, eerie vibrations. Another alien ship, identical to the one they had destroyed. The fleet moved in cautiously, weapons primed and shields raised. This time, there would be no attempts at diplomacy, no broadcast of goodwill. As soon as the alien ship came within range, the fleet opened fire. Beams of energy lanced through the void, striking the vessel with devastating force. Explosions lit up its surface, sending shards of metal spiraling into space. For a moment, it seemed like victory was assured. The alien ship reeled under the barrage, its defenses overwhelmed. Cheers erupted across the fleet. They had done it. They had struck first, but then something changed. The alien ship stopped retreating. Instead, it began to glow brighter, its jagged edges shifting and reshaping. Tendrils of living metal snaked outward, absorbing debris and damaged sections of its own hull. Within seconds, it had repaired itself, growing larger and more menacing than before. "Impossible," muttered Captain Rhea Solis, commander of the Retribution. Her hands tightened on the controls as she watched the transformation unfold. The alien ship retaliated with terrifying speed. It unleashed a storm of energy pulses, targeting the fleet's weakest points. Shields collapsed. Ships exploded. Chaos erupted as the fleet scrambled to regroup. Despite their numbers, they were outmatched. The alien ship moved unpredictably, twisting and turning like a predator hunting its prey. Admiral Voss barked orders, directing the fleet to focus their fire on specific areas. But the alien ship adapted too quickly, anticipating their strategies and countering them effortlessly. Every weapon they used seemed to make it stronger, feeding off their attacks like fuel for its growth. Desperation set in. Pilots screamed overcomes as their fighters were torn apart. Crew members abandoned burning ships, floating helplessly in escape pods. The tide of battle had turned, and humanity was losing. Amidst the carnage, Voss realized the truth. The alien ship wasn't just defending itself, it was learning. Each engagement gave it more data, allowing it to evolve and improve. Humanity's greatest strength, its ability to innovate and adapt, was being turned against them. "We can't win like this," Voss growled, slamming his fist against the console. "We're playing by its rules." Captain Solis looked at him, her eyes wide with panic. "What do you suggest, sir? Surrender?" "No," Voss said grimly. "We change the game." He ordered the fleet to retreat, drawing the alien ship away from the main group. Once it was isolated, he activated the quantum disruptor. The device emitted a low hum, building energy until it reached critical mass. Then, with a deafening pulse, it unleashed a wave of quantum interference that swept through the battlefield. The effect was immediate. The alien ship shuddered violently, its lights flickering and dimming. For the first time, it seemed vulnerable. The fleet seized the opportunity, launching a concentrated assault on its weakened form. Explosions rocked its surface, tearing apart its jagged edges and exposing its pulsating core. But even as the fleet pressed their advantage, Voss couldn't shake the feeling that they were being played. The alien ship's movements grew erratic, almost taunting. It was letting them think they were winning, luring them deeper into its trap dot, and then it happened. With a final, ear-splitting roar, the alien ship imploded, collapsing into itself and vanishing without a trace. The fleet hovered in stunned silence, unsure whether to celebrate or mourn. Had they truly destroyed it? Or had it escaped, ready to return stronger than ever? Back at UGA headquarters, the council debated what to do next. The victory, if it could be called that, had come at a terrible cost. Half the fleet lay in ruins, and thousands of lives had been lost. Fear spread once more. As people questioned whether humanity could survive another encounter, Admiral Voss sat alone in his quarters, staring at the recordings from the battle. The whispers were still there, buried deep within the static. "You think you've won, but we are many." Somewhere, far beyond the stars, another jagged silhouette drifted silently toward human territory. The galaxy was quiet, too quiet. Admiral Cale Voss stood on the observation deck of the Retribution, staring out at the endless expanse of stars. The battle against the alien ship had ended, but victory felt hollow. Half the fleet was gone, reduced to drifting wreckage and floating escape pods. Thousands of brave men and women had died, their sacrifices buying humanity a fragile reprieve. Yet, no one could shake the feeling that it wasn't over. The whispers haunted him. "You think you've won, but we are many." Those words echoed in his mind like a curse, gnawing at his resolve. What did they mean? Were there more ships like the one they had fought? Or was this just another taunt meant to sow doubt and fear? Back at UGA headquarters, the council convened an emergency meeting. The mood was somber. Counselor Mara Lynn paced back and forth, her face pale with worry. "We can't keep fighting like this," she said, her voice trembling. "Every time we engage these things, we lose more ships, more lives. There has to be another way." Admiral Voss sat silently, his arms crossed. He knew what she meant. Humanity couldn't afford another battle not on this scale. But what choice did they have? The alien ships, whatever they were, weren't going away. They were learning, adapting, growing stronger with every encounter. Diplomacy had failed. Defense had failed. Even direct attacks had only delayed the inevitable. "We need answers," Voss finally said, breaking the silence. His voice was calm but firm. "We don't understand what we're dealing with. Until we do, we're just throwing punches in the dark." The council agreed. A new mission was authorized, Operation Core Probe. Its goal was simple yet terrifying: infiltrate an alien ship and uncover its secrets. If humanity wanted to survive, they needed to know how these creatures thought, how they lived, and most importantly, how to stop them. Voss volunteered to lead the mission himself. Alongside him would be a small team of specialists, including Dr. Leon Cho, who had survived the earlier encounters and now carried the weight of guilt for not finding answers sooner. Together, they boarded a cloaked shuttle designed to evade detection. Their target was the next alien ship sighted near human territory, a jagged monstrosity identical to the ones before Dot. As the shuttle approached the vessel, the crew braced themselves. The alien ship loomed ahead, its surface pulsating with red lights and strange vibrations. It looked alive, breathing, watching. The shuttle docked or latched onto its hull, and the team stepped out cautiously. Their boots clicked against the cold metal, sending echoes into the silence. The interior was as nightmarish as ever. Organic corridors stretched endlessly, walls oozing a viscous liquid that smelled faintly of decay. Strange noises filled the air, low growls, distant whispers, and the occasional metallic clang. It felt like stepping into the belly of a beast. "This place," Dr. Cho muttered, his voice shaking. "It's worse than last time. Look at the walls, they're shifting, changing." He was right. The ship seemed aware of their presence, reacting to their every move. Doors slammed shut behind them, sealing off escape routes. Walls rippled and reformed, creating new obstacles at every turn. It was guiding them somewhere, hurting them like prey. As they ventured deeper, the team encountered grotesque creatures grown from the ship itself. Some resembled insects, with chitinous exoskeletons and razor-sharp claws. Others looked like twisted versions of humans, their faces distorted beyond recognition. All of them attacked on sight, forcing the team to fight their way through narrow corridors and cramped spaces. Each step forward felt like a gamble. The ship seemed to anticipate their actions, countering their strategies with terrifying precision. Explosions rocked the corridors as they triggered traps hidden within the organic structure. Blood splattered the walls as team members fell, one by one. Finally, after hours of desperate struggle, they reached the heart of the vessel. Inside, a massive chamber, a pulsating core glowed with an otherworldly light, surrounded by thick tendrils of living metal. The air was thick with heat and electricity, making it hard to breathe. The core pulsed rhythmically, almost like a heartbeat. "That's it. Cho whispered, his voice barely audible over the roar of energy. That's the source. Destroy it, and we might stand a chance. But before they could act, the ship reacted violently. Alarms blared, and the walls began to close in. The creatures guarding the chamber surged forward, attacking with ferocious speed. The team fought back desperately, firing their weapons and dodging attacks, but they were outnumbered and outmatched. In the chaos, Voss realized something crucial. The ship wasn't just testing them, it was feeding off their fear. Every scream, every drop of blood spilled, fueled its power. It wasn't just alive. It was hungry. We can't win this fight, Voss shouted, grabbing Cho by the arm. We need to overload the core. Now. Cho nodded, his hands trembling as he set up a makeshift EMP device. I'll need a few minutes, he said, his voice tight with tension. Keep them busy. Voss didn't hesitate. He led the remaining team members in a desperate last stand, holding off the creatures long enough for Cho to finish his work. One by one, the defenders fell, until only Voss and Cho remained. Blood dripped from Voss's side, but he ignored the pain, focusing solely on keeping the creatures at bay. Finally, Cho gave the signal. It's ready. Get out of here. Voss hesitated, looking at the scientist. I'm not leaving you. Cho smiled weakly, tears streaming down his face. You have to. Someone needs to tell them what we found. Before Voss could protest, Cho activated the device, triggering a blinding explosion that consumed the chamber and everything in it. The alien ship shuddered violently, its lights flickering and dimming as the core collapsed inward. With a final deafening roar, the vessel imploded, vanishing into nothingness. Back aboard the shuttle, Voss watched in stunned silence as the alien ship disappeared from their sensors. For a moment, there was relief. They had done the impossible. They had won. But as Admiral Voss reviewed the recordings from the mission, he couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. Buried deep within the static, he heard faint whispers, words spoken in a language he didn't understand. One phrase stood out, clear and chilling. You think you've won, but we are many. And somewhere, far beyond the stars, another jagged silhouette drifted silently toward human territory.